You're listening to the PowerCord podcast with your hosts, Alec and Josh. After a millennia long of telling everyone,
it's been a long time coming.
It's been a very long time. But you know what? We didn't break our promise. We didn't do it.
We never broke. We're not promise breakers here.
Sorry.
We're break takers. Long break takers.
Very long break takers. You said you go to work and you get half an hour, maybe 15 minutes. Now we take 2-3 years.
Yeah, that's it. We don't. Nothing more. Nothing less. 2 years and give or take 5 days.
For those who do remember, we posted a video a long time ago.
And we've even posted it on our Facebook page that we said we do stuff like this.
And we just never did. There's no real reason. There's honestly no reason.
You know how many times we've had the, hey, let's do this. Okay. Let's not. We just didn't do it.
That's a lot of things in life for us, though. Let's be fair.
Let's do the thing. Throw the idea in the garbage. Oh, I swear.
Well, apparently we can now. We'll keep it to a minimum
We'll bleep that one out. We'll keep it. Because it's Pokemon, we'll bleep that one out.
All the gentle ears out there. Yeah, I'll try to bleep it out. I don't know what I'll do.
All the gentlemon out there. We got to make sure we don't hurt all those feelings out there.
And speaking of Pokemon, we're opening up our very first ever PowerCord podcast, PC Squared, if you will. PC2, with the new Pokemon Direct that just came out today. And we'll be talking about later on in the show, the Pokemon conference from last week.
Yeah.
We'll go into it a little quicker because obviously it's older news and you guys have obviously seen it. If you haven't, well then, here's a bunch of information we'll throw at you at the same time. So how do you want to kick this one off, Josh?
Well, like you said, let's start with the Pokemon Direct. We just finished watching it. It just aired about 10 minutes ago. And let me tell you, like right off the top, I am absolutely floored with how amazing this game looks. Normally I don't get hyped up over a game because I don't want to get disappointed, or I don't want to like be let down, or I want to be able to organically enjoy a game when it first comes out without knowing much about it and just be blown away by how great or absolutely poor the game is. But this, I'm actually really glad I'm staying up to date on it, because for someone like me, I haven't played Pokemon since Pokemon Black and White 2. So it's been an awfully long time. That's been a long time for you to play, and I'm going to say that this has, so far, just basically what we saw right now, and we'll post a link to in our YouTube channel for our other channel, like on Podbean and a few other ones that we'll go into wherever
later.
This is,
can't really do that, but for definitely on the YouTube channel, we'll post it. If you follow us on Facebook, we'll post it there, and Twitter and the like. But they did something with this game, or in these games, Sword and Shield, that I didn't expect them to ever do.
Oh, 100%. There's a few things.
And I'm going to... Sorry, I want to cut you off real quick just because I want to rename this game. And it's going to be called Pokemon Breath of the Pika.
Breath of the Pika.
Because
I can deal with that.
Because it looks like Breath of the Wild.
Or just Legend of Pokemon, Rage of the Gyarados, which we'll get to that in a second as well.
Yeah, a lot of angry Gyarados.
A lot of angry Gyarados, a lot of angry Pokemon.
But I want to go over the first things we saw, and that's like the 7 Pokemon we now know. Or there's 9 Pokemon. We'll get into the legendaries in a little bit. But
is there 9? 1, 2.
There's 9. Yeah, I wrote them all down because they're hard names.
Yeah.
So first off, we already know the 3 starters: Sobble, Scorbunny, and Grookey. We already know those 3. That came out months ago. We know those 3.
Yeah. And there's been nothing but speculation on what their typings will be.
We have no idea.
We'll get into that later if we want, but that's not the point.
We'll see if we have some time for that, but definitely if we can, we will. But I'll just name the next 4 that they showed, okay? Yeah. So the first, or actually, there's actually technically 10, but we'll get into that. So the first one's Wooloo, which is a sheep because you're in Scotland and sheep.
Right. Or more not just Scotland, but the UK region, which Scotland is in there for people who don't know.
You're in Scotland.
Yeah. So Wooloo, I believe, like Alec had said, is a sheep Pokemon.
Probably a normal
type, and I think it's going to be like a Rattata thing. Where it's
That's what it kind of looks like,
one of the first few Pokemon you kind of wet your feet with, get you into the region, one of the first few you'll see, and see nothing but that. But I think it's if it's gonna have an evolution, it's gonna have like a crazy looking evolution with like crazy horns, like spiral horns, like something like along the lines of, I think it's what, Ares, that's just a ram.
Yeah.
They could do something like that, like a crazy wild ram look instead of like a nice little sheep. If it has an evolution, which I don't see why it wouldn't, especially if it's one of the first Pokemon they're gonna give you.
Yeah, I think it should. It's actually, I like this design too. It's kind of basic, but I'm, you know me, and I've said it before on different avenues on both our YouTube channel and like Twitter and stuff. I like the basic look a lot. Mm-hmm. When you get complicated
100%.
with Pokemon, it gets a little crazy. Like, think about, just off the topic here, but Garchomp as a Pokemon, it's very simple. It's just a land hammerhead shark.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm in the same boat, but I'm also on board with some of the crazier looking Pokemon. Like one of the crazier ones, like maybe Druddigon. He's a little crazy looking, but
look at the thing of Bisharp.
Even I didn't play the Pokemon game with it in it, but the Sword and Shield one, what's it, Aegislash or whatever?
Oh yeah, Aegislash. Yep.
Right.
Great that's a good That's a great Pokemon. Actually, it's banned in a lot of ways. But because we're talking about evolutions,
yeah,
I'm gonna go to the one that they did show an evolution for, and that's Gossifleur, which is a flower. Looks like a dandelion, honestly, like the
straight grass type. Grass type.
And it evolves to Eldegoss.
Yep.
That's how they pronounce it. Anyways, we'll see if that's proper. I'm not sure.
I think Eldegoss is gonna have some effect on the environment. Which we'll get into the. Which we'll
get into, yeah. We'll get into that for sure.
Of the game, but I believe because they made such a point of saying Eldegoss, the seeds on its head, which I don't know if we have a picture on the screen of it.
I'll see if I can get one. It might be tough to get.
We'll see if we can get it. If probably just for YouTube. Anyway, Eldegoss has these seeds on its head, where I believe it could affect the environment. Affect the environment. Sorry, and maybe possibly be like a significant double battle, or as we'll get touch on later in the Dynamaxx battles.
Yeah. So there's two more Pokemon here. We'll go with Dreadnought, who is a sweet looking snapping turtle Pokemon.
Yeah, definitely water. I think it's gonna be water and something else.
Might be water steel? Dark. It might be water dark.
Water dark.
Water steel. That'd be cool. It honestly, to anyone, it kind of looks like just a turtle. It's nothing crazy looking, but it looks.
But here's the thing that I'm thinking, because they also made a point of saying that you have to be a higher elite Pokemon Pokemon trainer to catch this Pokemon. I think you're gonna have to catch it at a higher level. That
might be, yeah. Maybe you're right. Now that you say that, it might be catch it later in the game.
The one thing I was focusing on, maybe not later in the game, maybe you can see like really early, like kind of like a Final Fantasy thing where they're like, hey, here's a super big monster that you can fight, but I prefer you don't. It's a level 20 and you're level 5. So like it could be something like that where you could encounter it fairly early in the game, and if you have the chance to, or you really want to duke it out, you can catch it and you'll have a good Pokemon to start with. But it wouldn't be recommended, especially for newer Pokemon players or someone like myself who hasn't played in a fairly long time.
Yeah, and because you bring that up, this game looks, which when I said it looks like Breath of the Wild, it's because it's all open. You can see Pokemon as you run around the region.
Or at least that's our understanding from what we've seen.
That's what they show.
From what they've shown, right? But at the same time, they also shown snippets of the trainer running through the grass and just seeing an exclamation mark. It could be something like that. There was also a snippet of them whistling and Pokemon creeping towards them in the grass.
Oh well, there is a sneak mechanic. I know you haven't played in some time, but there's a sneak mechanic in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Okay.
Where in grass you could sneak around. You could chain Pokemon to get like shinies and. All that,
okay,
so that could be another kind of thing where you can whistle. Maybe there's specific whistles for Pokemon, there's calls for animals in the wild when you hunt.
Right.
Could be something like that. This day you bring that up. And the last Pokemon from just the regular Pokemon they mentioned was Corviknight, which was awesome.
Corviknight or Corviknight?
Is it Corvin or Corviknight?
I think it's. I wrote down Corviknight.
I wrote down Corviknight. So it's something along the line of a C and an R and an O. With a V involved and a knight.
Yeah.
So.
And this was one of the coolest looking flying Pokemon I've seen. Definitely flying because it's a freaking bird.
So this Pokemon, they described it as you use it as a taxi cab between towns or cities in the region. It flies you around, which reminds me so much of World of Warcraft.
Yeah, the flying, like the taxi service, literally the taxi service.
I can't believe how cool it looked. Like the Pokemon itself looked awesome, and it's okay. So we don't really know the typings. Like we kind of say like Wooloo's probably a normal Gossifleur, straight grass, maybe something different, maybe like a flying on it.
The reason why we know Gossifleur is going to be grass, well, first of all, they said it's a grass type, and we know it's going to be Eldegoss is also grass, and maybe something. It could be just pure grass. The reason we know that is because now that we've named all the Pokemon, we can go into, I believe, the next part, the gym leader, which I don't think they named him. Did they name? Oh, gym leader's name was Milo, the grass gym leader.
Yeah.
He uses an Eldegoss, so that's how we know that either the first gym is going to be grass,
or
but we know
bug.
he's got
But it's I think it's gonna be grass though. Like that's the only thing it could be other than grass would be bug.
Yeah. So we definitely know Eldegoss is definitely a grass, maybe a grass, something else.
Yeah, if anything, it might be flying because you may remember Jumpluff.
Right.
It's like another Dandelion-esque Pokemon. It's grass flying, so
it
maybe you could see that.
Like, something say like grass normal.
It could be, which is terrible when they do that, but it could do that.
Right.
And just to finish up on typings, I just want to say that Crovenite or Corviknight, whatever it's called, I can't remember now. It's been 10 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a dark flying type.
Dark flying. I don't like, or because it's Crovenite or Corviknight, it could be steel flying because the whole night thing.
It could be.
It's spelled Knight.
Well, you know what? It looks awesome. Looks incredible.
Yeah. Or I mean, this is going right off the cuff, but hey, maybe we can have our first triple type Pokemon. It can be Steel Dark Flying.
Wow. Let's go off the board. Just here we go. You know what, Charizard? You're finally a dragon. Yeah, congratulations. You made it.
you don't even have to be at Mega Evolution. You just you got it now.
There you got it now. This is something cool, and they really emphasize it a lot, and we kind of touched on it, is the weather changes the Pokemon in their area. So, obviously, we've always dealt with night and day, and it's you know, if going back to Gold and Silver, it's like, okay, during the day you see Pidgey, at night you see a lot of Hoots because it's an owl.
Right, and the other thing, too, like, they've had, it's not to say that weather hasn't affected Pokemon spawns, it definitely has before, or how Pokemon appear, but this one's definitely going to be a little different, especially with being able to see them in the wild. Yeah,
it seems as if they're really trying now to do things differently. So you've seen some Pokemon like Deerling, and there's
Castform.
Castform is another one. It's affected by the weather. I mean, like, so Deerling changes color. There's Wormadam, which changes.
That's environment,
I think,
right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how that one works. There's a few Pokemon that did it. This actually seemed like they show different environments and different Pokemon around. So obviously, if it's like summertime, you're more prone to see this, and wintertime, you're more prone to see this, which would be super cool. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how often it changes. It might be seasonal in real life, which would kind of suck if it is, because then you're gonna get it in wintertime, and then the only Pokemon you're gonna see are winter or Pokemon based in that. So I'm not sure how that works 100%.
Right.
But like, I like the idea of that, because let's say for whatever reason my game is set to a different time just because it is, like, maybe it's random. That means I'm going to encounter Pokemon that you're playing like say you're next to me with your Switch. You're going to see different Pokemon than I'm going to see.
Exactly.
Which I don't think we have to do. I'm going to skip over some stuff real quick just to talk about this. Because we're talking about playing next to each other, we may never have to again. Because this game, they mentioned that you can play with other people and meet up with other people. And apparently you hurt yourself.
I got excited. Okay.
I got so excited I headbutted the keyboard because Pokemon might be like an MMO now.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that it seemed like they were really trying to push, and especially with the Dynamaxx battles, is like they're trying to address the fact that you need to play with other people to enjoy this game. Yeah,
they mentioned raiding, which, I'm going to go into this first. So,
okay.
Dynamaxx is the new thing. We mentioned a couple times now, and you're probably thinking, if you haven't seen it, Pokemon Direct yet.
So Dynamaxxing, what that is they take a Pokemon, and in this preview they had a Gyarados, Clefairy, Diglett, Sneasel, the giant pink bear thing that punches.
I don't remember that name of that thing at all.
Either way, they had a giant bunch of things, and my first thing I wrote was Giant Raichu. And the Pokemon. So Dynamaxxing is your Pokemon increases in size and gets power boost and uses max move, which I believe is similar to Z moves, but now they just use moves that they're bigger.
Yeah, seems that way.
Dynamaxxing can only be used once per battle, and it reverts back to its normal form after 3 turns.
Yeah, so it's kind of like they mixed Megas and Z moves together and kind of came up with this giant Pokemon routine. And I have been a person who has said multiple times, I love Mega Evolutions. I love them. Now, is it time for them to be done? I don't know. Some people don't like them. Some people do. I'm a big fan of it. But I didn't like Z moves. But this kind of makes it so I can look at Z moves and say, you know what, not bad. And I can look at Megas and say, I wish there were still Megas, but now we have this.
Well, the nice thing about sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that's not to say that Z moves aren't going to be there or Megas won't be there. That's just they're saying that Dynamaxx is this thing.
What I like about the idea of Dynamaxxing is it takes away from the fact that only certain Pokemon can be Mega Evolutioned.
That's
true. That makes it so it seems, and this is clearly speculation because the game doesn't come out until November, Dynamaxxing can be used on all your Pokemon. There's obviously going to be certain requirements to be able to Dynamax it. However, and that's another thing too, they said that the gym leaders have Dynamax Pokemon, so you need to have at least one Dynamax capable Pokemon, if not them able to all do it. Plus, you got to be smart on when you do it. You can't just go Teddy Ursa Dynamax right away, because then, great, you use your thing, you knocked out, let's say, 2 Pokemon or however many Pokemon they've got. Next thing you know, they sent out their strongest and they have their Dynamax. Now you're reeling because they just knocked out your strongest Pokemon.
Yeah, and their Dynamax does only last for 3 turns as well, but as someone who's played a lot of online, 3 turns makes a big difference if you're not playing it smart. So and they did do a big emphasis on that, and this is where we can finally jump back into the MMO aspect we were talking about in the raid battles. And so what these raid battles were, and I'll let you touch on it in a second, is so you group up with a couple people and you go fight these Pokemon that are Dynamax.
Up to 4 people, I think.
Yeah, up to 4 people. I think that's what they said. I think you're right there.
I think they could be more, but I think the max is 4 because they said 4, but you can probably go with 2, but it's gonna be challenged. But I think the max is 4.
Yeah, and these Pokemon are stuck in Dynamax mode.
Yeah.
So they're permanently buffed, and you have to try to fight them. And then if you beat them, you have the opportunity, so you don't always get them, to catch them.
Yeah. Did it say only one person can catch it, or everyone can?
I think everyone can. I'm not sure. I don't think they said otherwise. But let's say so they showed the Weavile they showed, and they were fighting the Weavile, and there's a Quagsire, but they said if you cannot catch a Quagsire until you beat that Dynamax Quagsire. Like, you just can never find one. So now they're in the wild all of a sudden. I don't know why that is, but it seems like a nice prerequisite to say, okay, you want to be a Pokemon master, and a lot of people, like, for me, I'm more of a guy who wants to just play the game, beat it, collect certain specific Pokemon that I like, and then first people online, that's my way of playing. Yeah. But for other people, they want to catch every single Pokemon. It really makes it so if you want to do that, you can't just sit back on your couch or wherever you're playing and just say, I'm going to do it by myself. Like, now it forces you to go out of your way to play with cooperative with other people, which is what Pokemon needs.
And that's what I like about what it seems like they're doing. The way they're moving with this region is they're kind of appealing to both. And I'm sure they may have before, but I feel like they're doing it a little better this way. With the whole Dynamaxing thing, like you said, they're mixing the Megas and the Z moves all together into one and making it smart instead of your Pokemon just stays Mega. I'm not sure how Megas work, so correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, Megas was like you had a stone that there was an item on them, and then you hit your stone watch and they connected to them. Right. And then,
they only get for 3 turns, so you have to be smart. But what they're doing now is they're making it so you explore the world and you can play, you can collect Pokemon, you feel like you're actually in the world of Pokemon, which is something that even back last week in the conference, the thing that they wanted to do is it feels like they're trying to make Pokemon seem like more of a real world thing instead of just a video game idea concept.
Exactly.
They want you to feel that way when you're playing their new game. They want you to explore the world. That's why they have it so open. You can see the Pokemon. You can interact with the Pokemon. You can see people working with their Pokemon instead of just battling with them.
Oh, exactly. It just seems like a more open concept that it really opens up Pokemon, because for so long it's been, I'm going to sit here and play by myself, and then maybe I'll see someone else online, and then it's just another hassle.
Right. And now here's the cool thing. You can, so let's say you want to group up with your best friend. Maybe you guys aren't joining the same gym, but you guys want to run around. You want to explore different Pokemon. You see a cave that neither of you have never seen, so you go in there and you try to catch Pokemon. Or hey, you both run into the Dreadnought.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe you need to be able to catch it early on. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with these games.
Right.
So it's just really cool to see them really take a step forward for all once. Honestly, usually they don't. So it's nice to see them finally try something they haven't tried.
And just a quick keynote on the Dynamaxx Pokemon. When you are with your other friends, you are able to see where these Dynamaxx spots are, because at least in the preview they'll do this, and I don't know if they'll keep this feature. I don't see why they wouldn't. It shows a giant red light towards where that Dynamaxx Pokemon will spawn, so you'll be able to see where they are. And I imagine that would be like a place where it's like, would you like to wait for a party or see find other Pokemon trainers to help you with this?
Yeah, there could be like a what's that called in MMOs? I can't think of it at the moment.
Like a party finder type thing.
Thank you. Which actually leads us now to our next point off of, or actually, I should wrap it up by saying that this is, like I said a few times, that if Pokemon's finally going to more of an MMO kind of a feel, it's something they should have done probably a long time ago, in all honesty.
And you know what? The way they're doing it, by keeping it to 4, maybe let's say up to 6. I can't see any more than 4 though.
Yeah, otherwise it gets hectic.
You don't need any more players in a world, because if you have too many, then it just becomes crowded.
It could be something like Monster Hunter now, I think, but sorry to cut you off there.
No, it's fine, and that's fine. You want to have like a party. You want to have your own party, because the world's already filled with NPCs. You don't need to have any more random people, just always interact, not harassing you, but like interacting with you. Like, for those of you who have played Pokemon, you'll know that you see people all over the world, all over the place. But I don't think that a game like this needs something like that. Having a small group of players, like like Alex said, Monster Hunter would be perfect.
Yeah, because you'd say, you can have up to 16 people in Monster Hunter, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's up to 4 in your party going into something. So you could say, I'm going in right now, guys, and you have one person join your room, whatever it is, as it being. And then you can go in with that person or a couple people. Or maybe you can see them all in the field, I don't know.
Right.
But either way, it seems like it'd be pretty cool.
So the scale they're doing, the quote-unquote MMO aspect, let's just say multiplayer, because it wouldn't be MMO. So the scale they're doing the multiplayer aspect, I believe, is perfect for 4 to 6. Any more than that, I think, is too much. Any less, then it's just you and your friend. There's really no negatives, other than maybe you have too hard of a time trying to catch a Dynamaxx Pokemon.
And that'd be your own fault for not inviting someone else.
Right. There's no reason.
And I guess that covers all the MMO stuff. Like, we could probably talk about this for hours and hours, honestly, because of our connection to MMOs in general.
So before we get too into it, if you have any other comments or anything, like any other snippets that you would like to share with us, or any but any speculations, rather, that you'd like to share with us, let us know. Contact us. We love to talk to you guys about any sort of speculations you guys might have.
Yeah, you can check us out on PowerCord Gaming on Twitter. That's our Twitter handle.
Yep.
You can go to our Facebook page, PowerCord.
I believe it's just PowerCord.
Yeah, it's just PowerCord. If you're on YouTube, obviously you can just message us there, and you know where to find us. Otherwise, if you're, this is more so for the people on, I think it's Podbean and SoundCloud, and there's the Buzzsprout. I think that's where it's going to be going today, so probably a little less prepared for that conversation of it. Anyways, moving on to, there's a few, this isn't a big thing here, but there's a few characters they showed, and we talked about Milo. He's it looks like the first gym leader, honestly.
I think either, if he's not the first, definitely the third. But I believe you're right. I believe you're right that he is the first, if not the second, only because you have your start. The guy had his starter.
It showed their base starters. That's why I'm saying it's first or second. That's that's Milo. I was calling him Milo. You have a new professor, Professor Magnolia, who's in. Well, look, it's another tree and such.
Tree, flower, whatever. But
Professor Magnolia.
Her big thing is, so I'm sure she'll give you the Pokedex or whatever.
Yeah,
and
she's
what they said she was in the direct was she's a Dynamaxx, not aficionado, but she studies the Dynamaxing, not phenomenon, but the whole Dynamaxing thing.
Yeah, it's like in X and Y. I think it's Sycamore was his name. I don't remember his name, but. He was all about megas, and then in Sun and Moon, that dude who flirted with your mom all the time, he was all about Z moves, and Professor Oak's all about the Pokedex, and Professor Elm's all about breeding and yada yada.
Yeah.
So yeah, this lady's gonna be
all about the Dynamaxing.
All about the Dynamaxing, and then her daughter Sonia.
Is it her daughter? I know it's her assistant, but I didn't know if it's daughter.
I think they said daughter. If I'm wrong, she's still the assistant all the same.
Yeah.
And they dropped 2 other characters. Leon, who's the champion, and apparently he's never lost. So go out there, trainers, and beat the hell out of him.
Give him that first loss. Make him 101.
Yeah, 101. And then his brother Hop, which is a terrible name.
And he's got an even worse face.
And he has a worse face, not worse than Milo because he doesn't have a nose, but Hop's second worst face. And he's gonna be your rival. Seems kind of cool. And speaking of we didn't write this down, but it's off the top of my head here. It really looks like you can design your characters a lot again.
It looks like you do have some sort of customization, yes.
Which they brought in. They brought that into, I want to say, X and Y to an extent. There's like hats and a couple shirts. And then obviously Sun and Moon, they did a bigger thing. So hopefully they can do that because it's really cool. You can customize your own. It's a small thing.
Your Pokemon trainers. This is you.
Make it you.
And
exactly.
And it's just to wrap all the way back to what I was saying. They want to make it you feel like you're in the world of Pokemon, which is something that Pokemon, at least in the last 2 weeks, has been trying to drive home to everyone. We want to make this a world. Yeah, it's been a world already. We want to drive this home, that this is the world of Pokemon. We want you to be in it.
Yeah, this is finally. It's more so nowadays your adventure rather than Red's adventure or Silver's adventure or Brendan's adventure. And I'm going to point out that I was wrong. I was wrong.
About?
I was talking to people, and I said, maybe this is the first generation that it won't be different game, different legendary. And I was wrong. You have Sif from Dark Souls versus Lion Wolf.
Yeah. And that was, what was their names there?
I got this. So
Zacian, and Zamazenta.
Yeah, so Zacian's the sword one, or Zacian's the sword one. And it's a nice wolf with a sword in its mouth, like Sif from Dark Souls.
Yeah.
And it's cool looking, honestly.
Yeah, so
however,
one of the notes that I put is Dark Souls boss is legendary.
Yep. And then the other one is Zamazenta, and its mane looks like a shield, as in Sword and Shield, obviously.
Yeah.
And they both actually look pretty cool, and there's not much to talk about them other than like they actually look really nice. Like there's been some struggles in the legendary department. Let's be realistic.
The one thing that in the scene that they showing them, they got into a little spat, and then the wind rustled and showed them going back to back and ready to fight something. What I'm thinking is that wind rustling has to do with something with the unreleased, unannounced version of Pokemon Gun.
I could see them coming with like Pokemon Bow or something like that. And all jokes aside,
something like that. I don't know.
Pokemon Helmet.
Pokemon Armor. But
Pokemon Bootstrap.
So they show them doing that, but they're definitely, and if they do, keep Mega Evolutions, Zacian and Zamazenta get Mega Evolutions, because in the cutscene that they showed with them, the Zacian's sword got a little bigger and changed, and his fur changed, not color, but it definitely changed, and Zamazenta's mane got a little bigger, a little wider.
Yeah. So like shield and sword. So that might actually have to do with the Dynamaxx. They may be involved in that now that I think about that.
Right. But there obviously is that third legendary. There's always that third legendary that ties the two together. But they didn't show it. They kind of, I feel like they may have teased it with them going back to back and kind of having their little sniff conversation. But it's definitely, I believe, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that there's definitely a third Pokemon that'll tie the two together.
They normally do go with that system. I just don't know what it'll be this time. Usually they show it early on. In the case, they started doing that in Gen 3 was the big one, right?
I'm gonna one guess that I'll take, and you can tell me I'm wrong. You can tell me I'm right. The listeners, you can comment about this, whatever.
I believe,
yes, I believe that the third Pokemon that would tie them together will either be like a King Arthur or a Queen Elizabeth looking thing. Yeah,
that's actually not a bad idea.
Like it'll be very Victorian style, elegant looking kind of Pokemon to kind of use them as like a knights type thing.
It's just Jon Snow.
It's just Jon Snow. Come in, Zacian, Zamazenta. You know nothing, and winter is coming.
Winter's coming. My watch is ended.
and then he takes Zacian's sword and yeets it across the Galar region.
I'm gonna go way off topic real quick because yes, I have a funny story for you.
Okay. This has been a PowerCord podcast. You can find the boys on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks for listening.